What does it mean to be classy? Does it mean wearing expensive looking clothes, speaking posh, sporting perfectly manicured nails and a chignon? Or is there more to it than just the superficial? Well, in this video, we're going to take a deep dive into how to be classy as an older woman, and I'll give you some examples of what I think exemplifies class and where I've fallen short. So the first way to be classy as an older woman is embrace your style and wear it with pride. Being classy in the way you dress isn't about spending a lot of money. It's about confidence. It's about being confident in the clothes you've chosen to wear and wearing them with pride. Those of you who've followed me for a while will know that I've been on a bit of a style journey, having made some quite horrendous style mistakes. But I've come out the other side and I feel so much more confident in what I wear, regardless of how other people view my choices. But before we look at my style, let's consider some older women in the public eye who don't necessarily conform to what we might consider as classy, but whose choice of clothes and style they wear with pride. Lucinda Chambers, who's in her 60s, Zandra Rhodes, who's in her 80s, and Helena Bonham Carter at 59. Now, I wouldn't wear what they wear, but to me they exude class because they wear their clothes with confidence, they know their style, and they're comfortable in their own skin and their choice of clothes. Now, my style is perhaps the antithesis of theirs. It's pared down, almost utilitarian. I don't wear flounces or furbelows. I wear clean lines with a tendency to oversize, which is what I feel comfortable and confident in. So I don't conform to what most examples of classy closets would have us own. The crisp white shirt, don't have one. The blazer, I do have one, but it's oversized and it certainly isn't blue with gold buttons. Or the little black dress, although I do have quite a lot of black. And most of my clothes are not super expensive either. They are generally mid-priced, with some at the lower end from brands such as Uniqlo and others from slightly higher end brands like COS. But most of them are made from natural fibres, cotton, wool and leather. And that brings me to the sponsor of this portion of the video, TeddyBlake. TeddyBlake reached out to me a few months ago and asked me if I'd like to try one of their bags, and I immediately said yes. And that's because I'd seen my dear friend Kat of Cat's Eye Beauty sporting one. And this is the bag I chose, the Vera Palmelato. Now, TeddyBlake is a US handbag company with Italian flair and style. All their bags are manufactured in Milan, the home of Italian leather, and in the same factory where many higher priced brands are made, but without the high price tag. They even use the same craftsmen to make their beautiful bags. They have a large range of styles to suit every taste, from large totes to small occasion wear bags. With my bag, the Vera Palmelato, I particularly like the fact that I can wear it cross-body, I can wear it over my shoulder, or I can wear it in the crook of my arm. And I also like the fact that the logo is very discreet. The bag and the brand embody class. And like I said, being classy isn't about spending a lot of money. And if you want to get your hands on a TeddyBlake bag, now is the time, because they are having a 4th of July sale where you can get up to 35% off. And if you use my code, you can get an extra 10% off using my code TBDES10, which I'll put on the screen down below in the description box and in the top comment. I've already got my eyes on a couple. So let's now move on to number 2 in the 10 ways to be classy as an older woman, and that is practice good manners. Now you might be thinking, I'm a woman of a certain age. Of course I practice good manners. I was well brought up. Taught to say please and thank you, and in my case, may I instead of can I, which I passed on to my children and which they still reference to this day. But I think it is worth restating, and I'll give you an example of where my manners have fallen down. I am a terrible interrupter, and it's something I've realised over the last few years, particularly during Zoom calls. Interrupting someone when they're speaking is not good. It's bad manners, and I have to keep reminding myself of it all the time. I think it may be because I'm quite an impatient person and I tend to speak quickly without too much thought or consideration, with a tendency to go well off topic, as some of you know. But that doesn't excuse interruptions, because it's about respect. Respect for the person who's talking, whether you're speaking to a friend or interacting with someone in a store or on the phone. Good manners and respect for the other person tells the world that you are classy. Number 3 in ways to be a classy older woman is to speak with grace and confidence. Now here's where we older women can really score in the class stakes. We are, for the most part, confident, and we come with wisdom and experience. So speaking with confidence should come easy to us. But it can depend, of course, on the situation that we find ourselves in. When we feel out of our depth, we can fall into the trap of saying the wrong thing, blurting out something that we're thinking but didn't mean to say. I did this in a work situation the other day, where I was feeling a little bit unconfident. A lovely work colleague had just announced his retirement, and instead of saying congratulations, I said, finally. Oh, I wish the ground could have swallowed me up. I really did, but I think I know why I said it. It was because I am about to announce my retirement. Shh, don't tell anyone. And it had been on my mind, and instead of thinking before I spoke, I just spoke. Happily, he wasn't offended, but I should have engaged brain before mouth. That would have been the more thoughtful, classy thing to do. Words are powerful and they can have a lasting effect, so we should use them wisely. Number 4 in how to be classy as an older woman is maintain poise in difficult situations. Life isn't always smooth sailing, but remaining calm and composed in difficult situations is the epitome of class. Instead of reacting impulsively, take a deep breath and respond with grace. Whether you're navigating a stressful situation at work or a personal conflict, your ability to remain poised shows maturity and strength. Now, this can be quite a challenge, and I can give you plenty of examples of where I haven't been able to maintain poise over the years. However, I think my maturity has helped me to react in a more considered and, if you will, classy way. And I'll give you an example of that. A few years ago, when I was in my 60s and still travelling to work on a very crowded tube, 2 male passengers got into an argument. I hate confrontation. I actively shy away from it. But it was impossible to do in this crowded compartment. And I was actually quite scared that something awful was going to happen. I was only a few feet away from them, but I said calmly, but in a raised voice, "Please, could you both calm down?" And it did the trick. Both men looked, well, a bit sheepish. To see a much older person, and a woman to boot, ask them to do this, and one of them got off at the next station. Now, I could have shouted them to shut the F up, but that wouldn't have been the classy thing to do. Being classy means being considered, and as an older woman, it's possible that that element of classiness comes with age. But let me know in the comments what you think. Now, number 5 in the 10 ways to be classy as an older woman is prioritizing health and self-care. Taking care of yourself is not a luxury, it's a necessity. A classy woman understands the importance of nurturing the mind, body and spirit. This includes maintaining a balanced diet, taking regular exercise, enjoying hobbies, and ensuring you have downtime for relaxation. When you feel good inside, it radiates outside. So let's talk about health first. As long as you've got your health, our grannies used to say. And it's as true today as it was then. And don't we know it as we move into our 3rd age? Now, why is prioritising health and self-care classy? Because taking care, in fact in all spheres of life, is the smart thing to do. And smart is another word for classy, is it not? It's smart because if you take your health and self-care seriously, as an older woman, you're more likely to be able to live well and independently throughout your whole life. And I would imagine that's what we all want. By the way, I know that smart has other meanings as well, but indulge me for a moment if you will. So don't see self-care as an indulgence, and certainly not health. None of this, oh, I don't want to bother the doctor nonsense. If something doesn't feel right, get it checked out. If you prioritise health and self-care, you will feel more confident and you will radiate class. Number 6 in ways to be a classy older woman is curate your social media presence. In today's digital age, your online footprint is just as important as your offline presence. Share positivity and be mindful of what you post. A classy woman uses her influence to inspire rather than incite. Think before you comment or share, and remember that what you put out into the virtual world reflects who you are, and gosh, isn't that true? Particularly at the moment. I like to think I'm quite careful on social media. I mainly stick to YouTube. I've deleted my Twitter account. I only post on Facebook to friends and family, and I rarely look at Instagram. But that's just my personal choice, because social media can come back to bite you, as many a celebrity and politician have found out. Just last week, the owner of a site called Tattle Life was successfully sued by a couple whose life and business were picked over and ruined by gossip on this site. Now, I'd heard of this site because of the beauty journalist Sally Hughes, who had been treated in the same way a few years ago and had made a BBC radio documentary about it. And she actually interviewed a woman who had been trolling her on the sites. Now, women like her who write nasty comments on these type of sites are not classy. They're the complete opposite. But of course, we're classy women and we'd never do that, would we? Now, number 7 in the ways to be classy as an older woman is foster lifelong learning. Be curious and have a willingness to keep your mind youthful and your perspective fresh. Read books, attend workshops, travel, or simply engage in meaningful conversations. Stay informed about the world, but also be open to new ideas. A classy woman knows that true sophistication comes from a well-nourished mind. I like to think that I'm curious. In fact, in my job interview, for the role that I'm in now, I said that I thought that being nosy was a good attribute to have for a generalist type job, because part of your role is to bring your knowledge of the whole organisation to bear on one particular function of that organisation. Well, it got me the job anyway. But I am curious. Consider the IT that I've had to learn over the years. From learning to type on a manual typewriter to writing very basic code for my website is quite a journey, let me tell you. But I'm still learning. And look at my lovely friend Sandra Saleh. She's 84 and recording and uploading videos on YouTube, as well as having a huge presence on Instagram, without so much as a buy your leave. What a role model and what a classy woman. I want to be Sandy when I grow up. Now, number 8 of the 10 ways to be a classy woman when you're older is dress appropriately for every occasion. So know the dress code and aim to be very slightly overdressed rather than underdressed. Whether it's a family gathering, a business meeting, or a night out, show respect for the occasion through your attire. Pay attention to grooming as well. Neat hair, clean nails, and subtle makeup can make all the difference. And yes, I'm talking to you, Des, as well, because subtle makeup has only been your modus operandi for the last few months. Now, this is about respect, and there's a theme running through all these ways to be classy, isn't there? Respect for the occasion, respect for the people arranging it, and self-respect. Now, I remember about 20 years ago, when I worked for a breast cancer charity, we organised an event for those affected and their families who were raising money for the organisation. And one of the young office workers who was helping with the event turned up in trainers. Now, bear in mind, this was 2006, when trainers were not usually worn except in gyms. And the women who were attending the event were in their 50s, 60s and beyond. So I was really quite annoyed that she didn't respect the occasion or the guests by sporting such sporty shoes rather than something smarter. I know it can be difficult sometimes to gauge a dress code if it's not spelt out, but I really do believe that being slightly overdressed rather than underdressed is the way to go in these instances. And you can always dress down an outfit, by, say, removing a jacket or a blazer. But attempting to dress up if you've turned up in jeans and a graphic t-shirt is not so easy. A classy older woman will know how to comport herself in the appropriate outfit, whatever the occasion. Now, number 9 in 10 ways to be classy as an older woman is to practice kindness and generosity. Elegance isn't just about the exterior, it's about your heart. Offer genuine compliments and a helping hand and support your friends and family. Volunteer your time. Share your wisdom and be a source of information and be a source of encouragement. Remember that the most beautiful women are the women who lift other women up. We're so lucky to be the age that we are. We've achieved a lot in our lifetime to date, and we can afford to share our experiences with others who are climbing up the ladder. There's nothing I love more than to be asked my opinion, as I'm sure you can tell from watching this channel. And I give it freely, as I'm sure you do. A few years ago, I read a really interesting book called Happy High Status by the journalist and writer Viv Groskopf. And in that, she tells a story about how George Clooney was mistaken by a young, nervous female guest for a waiter and asked him to fetch her a drink. It didn't faze him at all. He returned a few moments with said drink and didn't enlighten her as to who he really was. Now that's class personified, as he didn't feel the need to point out her error and knew that revealing his identity would only cause upset, so he kept stum. Generous and classy. And finally, number 10 in ways to be classy as an older woman is embrace your age with pride. A truly classy woman doesn't try to hide her age. She celebrates it. Embrace every wrinkle, well, maybe not embrace every wrinkle, and grey strand as a badge of honour, but there's nothing wrong with a little dye. Your life experience has given you wisdom, depth and resilience. Walk tall, smile often, and let your confidence be your signature. There's a lot of talk on YouTube about how women in their 60s, 70s and beyond are overlooked. Well, maybe we are, although there are still many of us working into our 70s and beyond, and many more than a decade or two ago. And that can be a wonderful thing for both the workforce and the individual. And yes, we may despair at our jowls, our lined skin, our flabby tum, and if we have the wherewithal, we could have Botox, we could have a facelift, we could have a tummy tuck. But if you look around the internet and you see wonderful women like Sandra Salin, who I mentioned before, Rockstar Mum, or our own Jo Good and Susie from Alternative Aging, they're all like me in their 70s or beyond, and they're out there. They're sisters, not just doing it for themselves, but for us, to say, hello, we're not overlooked, we're here. Still enjoying life to the full, still wearing makeup, fashionable clothes, talking about things that bring us joy. So, there you have it, 10 ways to be classy as an older woman. Remember, elegance is a journey, not a destination. It's about refining yourself with each experience, learning from the past and moving forward with grace. And thanks so much to TeddyBlake for sponsoring the first part of this video, and don't forget their 4th of July sale where you can not only benefit from up to 35% off but also an extra 10% off by using my code. And what do you think makes a classy woman? Let us know in the comments and let's have a chat. And if you've enjoyed today's video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and of course subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And if you'd like to hear more from me, I have a bi-monthly newsletter and the link to subscribe is also in the description box below. And in that I talk about all sorts of things that bring us joy, including beauty, fashion and lifestyle. And thank you so much for watching. It means the absolute world to me. It really does. And I hope you're all doing really well. And I look forward to seeing you on my next video. Bye.